The French ambassador to the Pacific, Véronique Roger-Lacan, and French Foreign Affairs in Europe acting spokesperson, Christophe Lemoyne, have called out what they see as dis- and misinformation in the territory. They spoke with Lydia Lewis about the perceived militarization, interference by Azerbaijan, and recent contact with Pacific leaders. Lydia started off by asking Ms. Roger-Lacan for the latest on the recent United Nations Committee on Decolonization.
So violence has to stop, and that's what the C24 said, and dialogue has to resume. That's what the C24 said, and this is what we are doing. We are helping to stop the violence, and we are having this dialogue, ongoing dialogue, permanently.
We still have militias who are armed. We still have increasing numbers of security forces on the ground. And that is militarization, whether it is a formal, and we're just calling it as we see it.
That's the Pacific Conference of Churches spokesperson, Reverend James Bhagwan, a petitioner at the recent UN meeting on decolonisation. I put his comments to the French ambassador to the Pacific.
Special forces, we talk about military forces. So there are no military forces involved in this crisis in New Caledonia. They are gendarmerie, who are interior public order management type of forces, and police forces. And of course, because of the unrest, some new gendarmerie and new police were sent to reinforce, to help, to assist those people to re-establish public order. Also, you have seen that within the detention centers, there were lots of unrest, so we had to send some reinforcement to stop this unrest. And this reverend is talking about something he doesn't know.
Here's Reverend Bhagwan again.
To not pay attention to things like intergenerational trauma is quite naive for people to exclude those things as part of community history. For civil society, we have called for the immediate withdrawal of the extra forces. We need to see a phasing down of military options or security options in Kanaki, New Caledonia. With each arrival and with each time people see these security forces out on the street, the mind goes back to what led to the Matignon and Numera Accords, which was, of course, the oppression of the Kanak people and the violence by security forces from France.
This is Véronique Roger-Lacan's response.
We called for a stop of the violence. We called for a stop of the barricades, but nobody listened to that. So this reverend has to know what he's talking about. This once law and order is restored, everybody will go back to their respective places. But so far, also, if you, for example, you know perfectly the issue of territorial route number 1, which goes from Nouméa to La Tontouta, it has been blocked by barricades put by the rioters. And how do you remove this type of barricades if you have no reinforcement of public law and enforcement forces? So that's what we respond to this reverend.
We've seen far too much already in Nouméa to be fooled by that. But we've also seen the way in which the French government treats that particular area. This is part of their maintaining their colonies, is part of their Indo-Pacific strategy.
This thing of the presence, the militarization by the French state of New Caledonia and of the region, this has to be corrected because it's not true.
Can you see in any way how it could be perceived when, thousands extra reinforcements have been sent, including what we've seen images of armoured vehicles with guns on the top of vehicles?
Well, I would like to suggest those people to watch the houses that were burned, to listen to the people that were harassed in their houses, to listen to people who were really feared, really fearing the violence and the psychological violence exerted on them.
Would you agree with the sentiment that force is not the answer here?
Of course, force is not the answer. Force has to be used to bring back public order sometimes. Because how do you bring back again law and order when people are burning and putting barricades and preventing everyone to have access to medical assistance? He should talk to us first, maybe, to have a balanced view, because apparently he has talked only to one side. And it's important for such a high-level personality, when they express some views, it's important for them to talk to everyone. I have been tasked to reach out to the Secretary General of the PIF, to the chairman of chairman of the PIF, and to the Prime Minister of Tonga, because he will be chairing the PIF soon. And we are establishing some meetings for me to discuss everything with that.
And now Azerbaijan, can you please give your perspective on the perceived interference role from Azerbaijan with its Baku initiative group?
It's interesting to see that some countries who have no interest in the Pacific all of a sudden are become specialists of the Pacific. They are around, and we are coping with that. It's up to the people who mingle with them to make their own mind on whether this is helpful or not.
Joining the Talanoa is Christophe Lemoine, France's acting Foreign Affairs in Europe spokesperson.
On the question of the interference of Azerbaijan in New Caledonia, this is Azerbaijan has launched some kind of campaign that they spotted New Caledonia, they spotted French Polynesia, and they even spotted Corsica. So it's an organized and strategic campaign to try to mingle with the independentist people in those territories. As Véronique said, we consider it a fact. We realize that they do that. They organize conferences in Baku where they invite independentist representatives of. That was the case with New Caledonia. That was the case with French Polynesia, and they even tried with Corsica. So it's a phenomenon that we know of, and for the moment, it's a question for the people they talk to figure out if it's helpful for them or not. It's linked with our position on the Armenian High Karabakh conflict. So that's a stance from the Azerbaijan state to lead those maneuvers against us. So New Caledonia is one part of that maneuvers, but there are other parts, and especially in French Polynesia and in Corsica.
What concerns have you seen in media reports that you would like to address?
On these very specific issues of Azerbaijan, I think it's one part of the whole situation, but this is not the main part. And as Véronique said, the priority of the French government is to find a solution, and a peaceful solution, to the situation in New Caledonia. Azerbaijan tried to mingle in this, but this is just one part of the problem.
What solution or solutions are seriously being discussed?
Yeah, I'll go back to Véronique. That's more her topic.
There are three options: independence within the UN Charter, independence association, and organization within an independent state. And it's among those three solutions that people have to choose, and there is dialogue, and we have to dialogue about that. And what we have done is that we have offered free referenda within the Nouméa agreement, and everyone ought to have used those opportunities.
Just to be clear, the perceived reason as to why the unrest started, the proposed constitutional reform, that is not being scrapped.
In legal terms, in legal and institutional terms, it cannot be withdrawn because it has been voted by the National Assembly and the Senate, so it exists as such. But it will not exist, because it's a constitutional reform, it will not exist until the Congress is reunited.
There is also, Véronique is absolutely right, it has to be voted in the same terms by the two chambers. I'm sure you know that one of the chamber has been dismissed on Monday. And so that's a question, because we have no lower house of the parliament at the moment. There will be elections in 3 weeks. And secondly, if you read the text of the draft law, of the draft constitutional law, there is a time limit on the 1st of July. So I think this whole thing put together will lead to a complete reconsideration of that process.
In light of the upcoming elections, in light of the Paris Olympics, has France forgotten the unrest in New Caledonia?
Not at all. The exact same type of engagement is going on, the same type of food assistance, of medical assistance, of legal assistance. We are there also to deploy a safe environment for everyone to be able to vote. And as I said, because there has been a dissolution of the National Assembly on Monday, everyone in New Caledonia who has an interest in putting some candidates has the power to do so. And we are helping on that.